Why organisms have to respond? So response is to protect ourselves. Because of certain chemical changes that are taking place in living beings, the living forms, they show responses. Whereas non-living forms, they cannot show any kind of response. Take for example, if we hit a cat, if we tease a dog, it barks. Whereas if we hit a bench or if we hit a table, it cannot give any response. With this, we can say that living forms have characteristic feature like response, whereas we cannot find this characteristic feature in non-living forms. In humans, in many ways we can give responses. Take for example, when a change has taken place in our surrounding. Take for example, if somebody is coming into the classroom, we can focus our eyes there. When a change is happening in our surroundings, we can give response. Take for example, in this case particularly, touching a hot object. If we can touch a hot object, we can take back our hand. So touching hot object, it's a stimulus. And taking our hand back, that is response. As very similar to this, when light falls into our eyes, we are closing our eyes, like this. So when light rays penetrate our eyes, lighting we can consider as stimulus, and closing our eyes is nothing but response. Like this, we can see responses when some changes are happening in our surroundings. Living forms, they can give response when changes are happening. Response is one of the important characteristic features which is shown by all living organisms when changes take place in our surroundings, whereas non-living forms cannot show any kind of response when changes are happening. Non-living forms cannot show any changes. Based on this also, we can say living forms have this characteristic feature, whereas we cannot see this characteristic feature in non-living forms. Let us move on to another characteristic feature which is performed by or possessed by all living forms. Here, we can do some activities here and we observe all these changes when changes are happening in surroundings. Animals or plants, whereas living forms, will they show their responses or not? We can do some activity here. Let's take an example, earthworm. We can find earthworms in our garden. We can take one of the earthworms and we can take a glass bottle and we can cover half of the glass bottle with black paper and rest of the half we can leave it. And we can just create some lighting with the help of torch so that we can see earthworm shows response towards light and it moves.